Okay, so today is a really exciting day. We are going to be auctioning off my World Championship bike. It was actually designed for the 2020 Kona race that didn't happen, so it has got the Kona Islands on it. It's also got my name and Lola on it, so it's a super special bike, but I've decided to partner up with someone who has been a massive inspiration in my triathlon career. She's supported me since the beginning and always been a huge idol of mine. So I've teamed up with Lucy Gossage to auction off this bike for 5k Your Way, which is the charity that she supports. We're going to find out a lot more about that charity, what impact it has, and what donating this bike will do for that charity. So super excited. Stay tuned to find out a bit more about how me and Lucy met, the background of the charity, and obviously how special this bike is as well. Careful. Careful. I think you're gonna have to come out of here now. No. No. It's like, pickle, give me that. Pickle, give me that.
Bike looks awesome. I like that.
Oh yeah, it's a really cool bike actually. So they had made it for me to race Kona in 2020, and obviously it didn't happen. And then I did race the bike last year at the World Triathlon Long Distance Champs. So it did kind of win a world title. And then I also raced it in Dallas, which was the last race I did on this bike before moving over to the new prototype that we're working on. So yeah, it's got a pretty cool story. It also says Lucy on it, which I feel is really cool because it's kind of relevant to both of us. So
you don't realise, I tell you what, Lucy, when you stop and you look back and you realise how bonkers it is when you just get sent, like, and now I have to buy trainers. It's crazy when you're a sponsored athlete. Yeah, it's bonkers. And then suddenly you go back to normal life like, oh God, it was quite nice when that used to happen.
Yeah, I should never complain of having too many bikes, but I think that's why it's so nice that I can do something special with this bike.
Oh, it's amazing. Thank you so much. It was like, yeah, it means a lot, but for the charity, it's obviously amazing.
Brilliant. Well, I guess really we should kind of start with how we both met. And yeah, I know when I started triathlon, I was a complete chopper, and I remember just watching you race. I think because Bolton was obviously my first ever Ironman, and I'm sure the year that I did it, you won it, or you were definitely racing. So I was like, oh my God, Lucy's amazing. But I know you came to Hoddesdon Tri Club as well, which was the club I was training with at the time, and we did like a ladies' ride. And it was really early days for me at the time, but yeah, I just remember being so inspired by you. So I guess that was probably around 2014, 2015. So quite a while ago now, which still blows my mind because I feel that I've been doing triathlon for 5 minutes and I've nearly been doing it for 10 years. So it's crazy how quick time goes.
I definitely remember cycling out to Hoddesdon. I think I haven't planned the route very well, so I ended up on some bridleway in the middle of nowhere, totally up covered in mud. But yeah, I do remember you and Reese, you really didn't know how to ride a bike at all. Just in terms of like technical ability. And then I think I did Ironman UK that year, and I won it. And my claim to fame is I remember lapping you on the run and giving you a tap on the bum and going, well done, Lucy. And then I think the next year you were winning races, or, you know, on your way to stardom, definitely. But yeah, that was a long time ago.
Yes, I mean, I still feel like that person, which I find is so mad. Like, it is crazy how quickly time goes. Yeah, I guess it would be cool. Most people probably know a little bit about how you got into triathlon and your kind of background in the sport of triathlon, but if you don't mind kind of just telling people a little bit about how you actually got into triathlon and what kind of racing you did over the years.
Yeah, so my career was, I call myself now an accidental pro triathlete, and it really was an accidental career. So I entered my first Ironman as a drunken dare. I'd just broken up with a long-term boyfriend, and I just signed up for the London Triathlon actually as a challenge. I was a junior doctor, worked hard, played hard. Did that, absolutely loved it, finished kind of in the middle of the pack. I literally had no idea what I was doing. And a few weeks later, I was teaching some medical students on the ward, and they told me about a friend of theirs who'd done an Ironman. And I was like, what's an Ironman? And they told me, and I was like, well, that's ridiculous. No one can do that. But there was a little seed that was planted. And a few weeks later, I was dancing in a nightclub after some drinks, and I was like, I'm going to do an Ironman if I'm single on New Year's Day. New Year's Eve, I met a guy who'd done an Ironman. He said it was amazing. I thought, that is fate. So signed up on the 2nd of January. I ran a half marathon on the treadmill, which is the longest I'd ever run by probably about 10k. Kind of fell off and went and entered. It's crazy now looking back, just thinking, wow, that turned into a big chunk of my life spent racing as a professional athlete. But I don't think it ever really felt like it was my job. I was mostly working alongside it, and it was very much a hobby that went wrong or went very right.
I think it's just amazing though that the results that you did have whilst also doing the job that you're doing now and kind of balancing that along the way. It's just incredible and inspiring that you could balance everything, because often I'm just doing swim, bike and run, and it's so hard to just balance those three. So having other things going on in your life as well. And how many years did you actually race professionally for?
So I think I got my pro license in 2011. I was still working full time, and then I went part time, and then I had nearly 3 years as a full time athlete where I wasn't working, and then I went back to work at the end of 2016. And thought that was my career over, but I then realised I loved it just too much to stop. So I had another couple of years racing whilst I was working. So I retired end of 2018, I think. Interesting, those last couple of years were actually two of the best years of my career in terms of results and things. And I think you can do pro triathlon different ways and pro sport different ways, and for me balance was really important.
Yeah, definitely would agree on that. And I think something that connected us both really well was how we always tried to have fun with doing triathlon. Even at the highest level, it's always been important to me to keep it fun, and I definitely feel like when I've had the best results, I've just been enjoying myself, maybe not taking everything super seriously, throwing myself into things like parkrun or a local event and just getting stuck into things that maybe not other pro athletes would do, but it's just kept it fun and exciting over the years. So that's a big thing that we both think is if you keep it fun and enjoyable, you'll have a better time, but you'll probably get better results as well.
Oh, I love watching you vicariously now. And even just now you were saying, yeah, I'm going to get stuck into parkrun tomorrow. And so many pro triathletes would just, I think maybe even as an age group, you just think, oh, well, professionals wouldn't go and do parkrun. But your year where you did a little bit of everything and just excelled at every different distance and swimming, that's just amazing, because it's just trying different stuff. And you know, I always think when you're a pro, people think you're amazing, but it's ridiculous because you're just quick at swim, bike, run, and you're still the same person. And we all get into it for the same reasons, that we love pushing ourselves and we love being outside. And you're a living example of that at the very, very top of your game.
The other thing I wanted to ask you was, how was the transition from kind of going from a full-time athlete back to being an oncologist?
That was really hard, actually. So I think when I went back to work, I just tried to keep training as hard as I was as a full-time athlete, and obviously added in the work on top of it. And I'd moved cities, so I'd lost my training network, I lost my support network and my friends. That was really hard. I started racing. That Lanzarote was the first one that you won, but with hindsight, I was like, God, I'm rubbish. I finished third, and I just hadn't got the balance right. But actually that was a good eye-opener, because it helped me reflect that I didn't need to train quite as hard as I used to, and actually balance was really important. So the initial transition was really, really tough, actually, and I did question why I was doing it. But when I found the balance right, I think that actually being a doctor was a bit of a weapon, because it reminded me how lucky I am to be able to do it. I used to always, and I still do now, remind myself that being able to suffer, to choose to suffer, like to push your body to hurt, is such a privilege, and so many people aren't able to do that. And I found that really powerful. And also it felt like a hobby. There was no pressure. So I'd turn up a race with no expectations, meant that I raced much better. So initially it was really hard, but once I got the balance right, I think it made me a better athlete.
Definitely. I still think it's incredible what you do. I think the mental toll that triathlon can have, but then the emotional and mental toll that your job has as an oncologist, just I can't even fathom like the day-to-day things that you go through. It probably would make you stronger as an athlete as well, because you're dealing with so many different emotions.
But imagine you're leaving work and you can't really be asked to go and do your run because it's dark and you're tired. And you know, we all have sessions like that. And then I just take myself back to some of the people I'd seen in the hospital and think, well, actually, how lucky am I? It sounds so trite, it sounds such cliche, but when you actually think, God, I'm really lucky to be able to go and do this run, then all of a sudden it becomes something you really want to do. Yeah, I think my job reminds me to live life and make the most of life. And I think as an athlete, that was quite helpful.
Definitely. The next question is, and it's more moving on to the charity and while we're here with the bike, what is 5K Your Way and where did the idea come from?
So 5K Your Way is a supportive community that encourages anyone affected by cancer in any way to walk, jog, run, cheer or volunteer at park runs on the last Saturday of every month. So the idea came when I was a registrar, actually, when I'd just gone back to work when I was racing, and came across a young patient. I hadn't treated him, but he'd theoretically been cured of his cancer. And I'd just gone onto the ward to give him a prescription for some paracetamol or something and got chatting. And he had, through his cancer treatment, he'd put on loads of weight, he'd lost his friends, he'd lost his job, he was spending all day asleep and all night awake playing computer games. And I just remember it was such a short interaction, but walking away and just thinking, what have we done? Like, what is this that we can cure people of cancer, but this is how we're leaving them? And I love park run. And I just thought, well, maybe we can get a group of young people to build up together to do a park run in 3 months' time or whatever. And the hospital weren't that interested. But then I heard of Gemma, and Gemma's an amazing person. Gemma had cancer when she was 24. She was a runner and she had just founded Move Charity because she wanted to set up a charity to support other people with cancer to get the support that she didn't have to be active during and after their cancer treatment. So with no kind of friends in the hospital to support me, I reached out to Gemma. We had coffee. I said, I've got this idea. And we said, let's just give it a go. So that was 2018. We thought we'd just set up a group in Nottingham, just try and encourage people to get down and give that peer support and encourage activity and companionship. And then through social media, it just exploded. And I think we've now got 90 groups across the UK and Ireland. My kind of problem is that people think I just want people to get out there and be active because I love it, but there is actually loads of evidence to support being active for people living with and after cancer in terms of how they feel, in terms of controlling side effects and mental health symptoms and energy levels, but also actually probably reducing risk of recurrence and improving long-term outcomes. So there's loads of evidence behind it. We never expected it to turn into anything, but the stories that we get from the groups across the country are really life-changing. And I think the groups themselves give a lot, but actually by existing, we're helping to change the narrative about what's possible with cancer. And we're helping showcase that it's possible to be active, it's possible to live well, even with really advanced cancer. So it's a really powerful initiative. 5K Your Way is one arm of the Move Against Cancer charity. And our overriding aim is to support people living with and after cancer to live their best lives through being active. And it all comes very much from the heart because we know how much being active can change lives.
Yeah, I mean, I've followed it from afar, but just kind of hearing that in more depth of the difference that is having on people's lives is just incredible. And as an athlete, I know how much better I feel after just going for a run, especially if you're having a stressful time in your life. For someone that's recovering from cancer or has cleared their cancer, you've even got more scientific evidence to prove how much that helps. So following from afar has been amazing to hear that.
I'm going to share a story of an older man called Roger, who's 78, and he's got bowel cancer that spread. And his chemo stopped working. And he announced last summer that he's been volunteering as part of the group. They've been part of it for years and years, and he was walking it, then he became less well. And he suddenly announced last year that he was going to walk it again. And he walked it with his friends and family on his 78th birthday with metastatic cancer. But I remember watching him get to the finish, and he always jogs the finish with his family. And he had the feeling that I used to get when I won an Ironman. And that made me realise why what we do is so important, because it's not about how fast you are, it's not about how far you go. And for some people, 1K is just as important as 5K. That was kind of just, he's as happy as I was when I used to win. And he always did the doing a Lucy dance.
Oh, I love that. That's so incredible to hear. Obviously, hearing those stories and hearing about the difference the charity is having just makes me even happier that I can play a really, really small part in just donating this bike to you guys. This bike, I obviously said, was pretty special to me. It was my comeback bike, I guess, last year when I was sidelined from an injury and was wasn't able to race, which was arguably for me in my kind of life was really, really difficult to handle. But to come back and win a world title at the World Long Distance Championships on this bike kind of just shows how special it is. And to someone who could potentially own this bike, a lot of money hopefully will be donated to the Move charity and 5K your way. And yeah, just to bring awareness to the amazing work that you're doing.
Thank you so much. And we are a very small charity, so actually the funds you donate really do make a big difference, and they go straight to the work that we do. I love that the bike's blue, which is our colours, and I love that it's got Lucy on it, which is awesome. So thank you so much, Lucy, and all of your team for taking the time and effort to do this.
Oh, no worries at all. And yeah, the guys at Cube are super supportive of this as well. So what will raising a bit more awareness or any funds do for the charity? How can it help you guys?
So at the moment, we've got more demand than we can possibly cope with. We've got lots of people wanting to start groups, but we need to employ a new manager to help to launch them and support them. And the other arm of the charity that we haven't really talked about is the online cancer rehab program for teenagers and young people with cancer. So that's an amazing, life-changing 8-week program with an online cancer rehab instructor that really can change the lives of young people when they finish their cancer treatment, in terms of helping them get back into just living and being active after their treatment. And we've got far too many referrals than we can possibly ever deal with. So we'll be putting the money towards hoping to support more young people through that program and employ another manager to help us to continue to grow.
Brilliant. I mean, to me, it's 100% a really worthy cause. So anything we can do to help you guys along the way is amazing. I was briefly looking on my phone earlier at some pictures of us. There's a video of me doing a little interview with you at Ironman UK before the race, and it's just crazy to kind of see how times have moved on and everything, but just the support that you had for me in the early days. I remember taking a call with you when I didn't have a single sponsor, and I was like, Lucy, how do I get sponsors? How do I do this? I think I was still working as a personal trainer at the time, trying to make ends meet. So thank you for supporting my crazy journey at the very early beginning and being that amazing role model for me.
Oh, thank you. Do you ever pinch yourself, Lucy, and just go, wow, how have I?
I should do more. I think that's the thing. Like, I'm always like, right, what's the next goal? How do I overcome this? And actually, sometimes I feel like I do just need to like sit down and be like, look at where you were. You didn't have a clue what you were doing. You were doing cycling in your running kit because you couldn't afford cycling kit. It's hard as an athlete because you always want more. You do forget to actually look back and see the journey that you've had. It's been crazy, definitely.
I remember consciously one time in Ironman UK I was running down the hill with the motorbikes. I was like, you've got to bottle this. It may never happen again. And I think that was 2015. So I actually ended up having quite a few more years. But I'm so glad that I did kind of treat every good race as though it could be my last, because when it's done, you look back and like, wow, that was amazing. But I think in the time, it's so hard. It's so easy to just let it, this is normal. But what you're doing is so far from normal, it's crazy.
Absolutely, and I think it isn't just me, but so many people are a huge fan of the way you celebrate when you win a race, and you've got to do it. It's like you said, you've got to lap up that moment, because you never know, it might not happen again. It might be the last race that you win. So I always try to envision that when I'm coming up to the finish line, because I'm normally like, oh my God, is anyone right behind me? I've got to get to that tape straight away. But if you can just enjoy that moment and be like, this is why I've done all that hard work, is for this moment. And yeah, I just loved seeing you finish races and the way you celebrated. It was amazing.
Oh, good memories. Well, bring on 2023 for Lucy.
Absolutely, and yeah, definitely Reese and I must come and do some form of training with you. I love the kind of crazy stuff that you're doing, all the long running and adventuring.
To do a Peaks Day with me and Nikki, and
we would love
Peaks Adventure Day.
Oh, brilliant. Well, thank you so much, Lucy, for your time. I know you're so busy.
Well, thank you guys. Like, honestly, I got words that, I can't really say thank you enough. It's lovely to see you. I love doing stuff like this. And I'll see you soon, hopefully.
Yes, hopefully. Brilliant. Well, have a lovely weekend, and hopefully we'll catch up soon.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Bye, Lucy.
Bye. Bye.
So make sure to check the link in the description below. It will have all the details of how you can buy your tickets for the auction. So all the information will be below, so make sure to check that out. Release the hounds. He's just going to want to eat the pop balloons. Oh. Don't tell me you're not interested now.
Well, you did it.
That's it, you finished it. Completed it, mate. Okay, thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure to get involved in the auction, as of course it is an amazing cause and it's an amazing prize. So thanks again for watching. As always, make sure to like and subscribe for more exciting things coming soon. Give me that. Stay there. Stay there.